Welcome back to another episode on Season 5 of Raincraft. As I started this episode, I realized with all the building we've been doing in the last few episodes, I hadn't actually checked my iron farm, and I went over and the thing was completely full and I had about 2 double chests full of iron, so I came back to check the iron shop, and we have slowly collected 20 diamonds. Not too bad for having a pretty small server at the moment. So I will put that onto the pile in a moment, but for now, I'm going to finish restocking this, and then we'll talk. So to start off today's episode, I mentioned before that I could probably make a bookshop if I wanted, because I have a pretty decent access to most of the important books. So to start off the episode, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Now, under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't actually build this shop, just because this is a pretty small villager setup, to be honest, but if you look in this chest here, you'll notice I have a ridiculous amount of books left over from when I was just upgrading these guys. And if you come downstairs, you'll see I've got a couple emeralds that I've been slowly collecting, as I don't really need as many as I'm able to get to supply my own items. And considering what I've just shown you with the ridiculous amount of iron I have, obviously that hasn't been a single problem supplying my emeralds from these guys, even though their supply and demand keeps going way up. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little grind here, get a whole ton of books, and then start building a bookshop. Alright, and before I've forgotten, I put the diamond blocks in the file, and I now have 4 boxes of enchanted random books, and all of the materials I'm going to need to build this shop. Let's go ahead and go build this thing right now. Yes. Think this is working. Yeah, I was gonna add a little stripe like the actual book in the inventory item has, but it looked kind of weird, so that looks like a book, I think, from up top here. Yeah, looks like a book. I'll have to cover up the top with string, but let's go ahead and add some barrels in here, and then I'm probably going to put an enchanting table in the back. Alright, and with the bookshop finally up and running, with limited stock, you might say, I am now up here doing the unthinkable, building a massive tower of copper, because Cyborg finally got back online and mentioned he needed copper, so we went back and mined the entire copper vein from last episode. There's a lot. Either way though, I seem to have struck a deal with him. I'm gonna give him a little area to build a super smelter in my base. He's gonna have access to that, and then I'm gonna go and build a blaze farm for the super smelter. And then we'll go ahead and do a building afterward over top of the super smelter he makes. So I'm gonna finish mining this, and then we'll catch up later. And actually, change of plans again, Cyborg decided he wanted to go make a honey farm, so we're gonna make the building first, and then he'll come back and do that, and we'll make the blaze farm in a minute too. So with that, let's hop into a quick little time lapse. Ready, go! Not a builder, he said. I think I am a builder now that I think about it. I mean, just look at this thing. I had a couple reference pictures from like real world blacksmith buildings, but other than that, this thing is completely my own design. And I'm honestly super proud of it. This thing looks really cool. But anyways, it doesn't really have too much stuff. It doesn't have an interior at the moment because I don't really know what Cyborg's plan is for the super smelter. But I dug him a massive hole down here, so that should be finished at some point in the future. But in the meantime, I need to go build this blaze farm, so let's go ahead and go start working on that. And if we come out here in the middle of the nether and we fall down, I've already made a nice little drop down hole to a blaze spawner that I've already completely blocked off because I didn't want to deal with the blazes. I should probably worry about this guy here, but yeah, let's go ahead and start working on the farm. Alright, first step, I've got a whole bunch of orange glass. Let's cover up this block of where the blaze spawn in with glass, and then I'll move on to the next step. And now that that's all in place, I've decided my next design choice is going to be to actually make a really big blackstone box around it, and then have the little killing chamber just down at the bottom, you know, so then everything around you won't be able to see, but you'll actually be able to gaze upon the glory of the big orange orb. Progress update, we've got a floor down there with a staircase here. We've got the collection system to the sides. The actual killing chamber will be right here, in fact. And I kind of changed my idea for the blackstone a little bit. I think I'm actually going to kind of block off the walls right up to the edges of the glass here, and then we'll just be able to see through the glass in the background some netherrack back there. But other than that, that's just to save a lot of materials because I don't think I actually have enough to do that much. In the next chapter up here, it should be finished. And finally, here we have it, the Blaze Farm. This room is actually really tall. I think I want to add like a little viewing balcony up here to like watch the blazes spawn in there, because it's kind of satisfying to watch them do that actually. But like I said, we've got the collection area, the AFK killing chamber spot. You can kind of see through here the actual nether out in the background through the glass. And yeah, it's a blaze farm. Pretty simple. But anyways, I'm not going to work on any of those final details now because the farm is functioning, and once again, it's about 2 AM right now and I'm getting tired. So I'm going to go ahead and AFK here overnight, and we'll see how many blaze rods we get. It is officially now the next day, and I made an oopsie. You might have noticed if you pay a ridiculous amount of attention to Minecraft, but I've changed this a little bit because last night before I started to AFK, I forgot to actually make this block open so that the XP would go to me so that my stuff would actually mend. And, you know, that was kind of a problem, and my sword broke. So I don't actually know how long I was AFK for where it was actually producing, but I've got 2 double chests or so of blaze rods now, so that should be plenty. And I've been collecting materials for Cyborg to build the smelter all morning. Alright, so with the blaze farm running, the smelter being built soon in here, and the shop all set up in the shopping district, I've got one more thing that I need to build before we run out of time today. And that has to do with the Enderman Farm. Now, there's one thing I completely forgot about this server, and that is that Revenlift, he doesn't like Elytra for some reason, so he doesn't actually use Elytra. But not just specifically that, not everyone on the server actually has wings yet, so not everyone is actually able to get to the grinder right now. Now, you're telling me, I know, just build a bridge over there, but that's boring and looks ugly. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna build a player launcher. And, by the way, I'm considering this today's good deed because it kind of goes along with the whole fact that the grinder is for everyone. Well, if we hop into a creative testing world here, I have some pretty bad news, yet also not really the worst possible news. I can't find a design or create a design absolutely anywhere that would reliably work. I got pretty close with the one behind me, but that thing is incredibly expensive. It uses almost a stack of TNT every single launch, and you have to have one of these on either side, and it still barely made the correct distance I needed. And then this thing over here is an Ender Pearl launch cannon, which that was actually working really well. It wasn't the most accurate thing, but I realized you could, because it was going out into the middle of the end, there's kind of void everywhere but the target. So it didn't really matter if some of them missed, you just had to put like 10 different Ender Pearls in there, and then one of them would most likely hit the target. But then I went on to a test server, and I tested it on the test server, and it didn't work. Because Ender Pearls weren't loading outside of the chunks that you've generated. So yeah, that whole idea went down the trash. And other than that, there's really not any other options for this, so we're going to go ahead and get back on, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do instead. Okay, small confession, I was actually going to come here into the end and just put a chest and decorate the little spawn pad and put a loner pair of elytra in it because I'm lazy. But you know, I might have noticed behind me that down here I've got a big new dirt path that's got a whole bunch of little markings in them. No, this isn't staying up. I'm not making a bridge. That's exactly what I don't want to do, because bridges are ugly, especially when they're this long over a giant void. Those are instead markers for end islands that I'm going to make, just like out in the end outlands, whatever they're called, way out there past the main island. And then of course I will still decorate the spawn pad, and then I'll just put a whole bunch of chests of ender pearls for people to use to pearl across the paths to get to the farm. And here we have it. A whole bunch of lined up end islands. I think this actually looks really cool, honestly. And I have tested each one's distance. It is possible to make every single one of these pretty easily with an ender pearl. On the way back up, those ones you kind of have to aim almost straight up to land it right, but oh well, people will get used to it if they plan on using these constantly. Anyways guys, that is all I'm going to have time for today's episode. I have a feeling this one's actually going to be a little bit shorter. I've done a ridiculously large amount of stuff compared to my normal episodes, but I'm not sure why. I just haven't found a lot of stuff to talk about as I made them. Then again, I am recording this before I edit, so I could be completely wrong. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'll just be adding some things to my base here and there. And I think I actually do want to put that little balcony I was talking about in here earlier. So with that, per usual, do consider subscribing if you haven't already. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode.